Journeys of my life. I was in fifth grade when my house burned down, the start of the downfall of life events. After my house burned down, my living situation has been very inconsistent, with moving every few months to a couple of years. I ended up living with my grandma and grandpa, and not long after, my grandma passed after her cancer battle, and then my grandfather passed 2 years later during the summer, which meant I had to move again, as I was living with him at the time. Losing my home, my grandparents, and stability in my education shaped who I am today, teaching me how to adapt through pain, loss, and constant change. I believe that you can always keep moving forward, no matter what. I was coming home after school from safety patrol and was driving down the street, seeing all the fire trucks, ambulances, and police cars surrounding my house. The first thing I had thought of was more about my sister's stuff getting destroyed than my own, as I had a feeling my stuff would be fine. I remember my mom breaking down and not knowing what to do when she saw the flames coming out of her bedroom. We had to go to an old folks' home until we could find a place to stay. We did end up finding a place to live after about 2 months, but it was a rough time for my parents. We ended up moving around quite a bit after that, but I lived mainly at my grandparents' house. While I was living with my grandparents, my grandma unfortunately got cancer and did end up passing away after about a 2 year battle. Not long after that, my grandfather died, which meant the house I had been living in for about 4 years had to get sold. During the time of losing both my grandparents and also my house, I had been doing fairly poorly in school, which caused me to kind of like shut down and not be very open about things, and also made my grades drop. During the second semester of sophomore year, I barely passed my classes and almost got kicked out of Avid. Since my house burned down, my life turned into a cycle of constant moving, instability, and struggle. School was definitely a challenge for me back then, as moving made it a lot harder for me to get both to and from school. With missing a lot of school, whether I was absent or just late, it was difficult for me to keep up with the work and get passing grades. Luckily for me, most of my teachers were very understanding of my situation and didn't hold much stuff against me, and made it very easy for me to do well while I was at school. Ever since I lost my house from the fire, I've had to move pretty frequently. Each time was because my parents didn't make enough money to continue renewing their leases for the places we were staying at, which meant we would end up at my grandparents' house pretty often and for long periods of time while we were without a place for ourselves. The second to last move I did was when I was living at the trailer park with my parents, and my aunt and uncle were coming to visit from Arizona, and they came to pick me up and take me to my grandparents for a sleepover that was supposed to be a few days. It ended up being 4 years. When I moved to my grandparents' house for the last time, my grandma was battling her cancer, which had been getting better until October of 2021, when it came back worse and no one could do anything to help her. At this point, I was struggling a lot and trying to act like I was fine, when in reality I was hurting really bad on the inside, but no one knew because I hid it so well. To this day, I'm still not fully over her death and wish I could see her one last time to get a true goodbye. It was about 2 years later, in late spring, when my grandfather wanted to move and then try and sell the house shortly after. He did end up moving, but about 2 months into him living at his new place, he ended up passing away peacefully in his sleep in his recliner chair. Because he passed away so soon, he was unable to sell the house while he was alive, and that meant I was able to live in the house until around the end of October, beginning of November, when we were finally able to sell the house and when I finally had a place to live with my aunt and uncle who moved from Arizona. When my grandfather died and the house was sold, I lost the last place I truly felt safe and called home. Without everything that's happened, I wouldn't be where I am today, even though those were some of the hardest years of my life, losing my home, my grandparents, and struggling in school. They shaped me into someone who can adapt, preserve, and I believe that you can always keep moving forward no matter what. Life took unexpected turns I couldn't control, but through those moments, I learned lessons that will stay with me forever.